The Greens want to offer a second referendum on the details of any Brexit deal, a bit like the Lib Dems, introduce a new Clean Act and an Environmental Protection Act to safeguard EU laws that protect British nature, wildlife and the countryside. They want to ban fracking and scrap plans for all new nuclear power stations and have a fair energy system with progressive tariffs so people who use less energy pay less per unit than the big one. And introduce a bottle deposit scheme to stop 16 million plastic bottles ending up in the environment every day, a bit like we had when we were kids. Stuart Tuckwood is standing for the Green Party in Cambridge. Morning, Stuart.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very, very good indeed. Before we get on to what the Green Party stand for, let's specifically talk about 16 and 17-year-olds.
Okay.
Now, we've had two very eloquent young people on the show this morning. One a lady, one a gentleman. One argued for lowering the age, one argued against it. They were pretty powerful arguments on both sides.
Yeah, I was in Thomas Gainsborough School in Sudbury yesterday, holding a panel debate with other politicians in front of school students, and I got a series of very intelligent, very mature questions and had a great discussion with the students in the school afterwards, who showed a real understanding of the issues, an understanding of how the big issues that need to be dealt with by politicians in the coming 3, 4, 5 years are going to affect them. And I think it's absolutely right that those young people have a say over their future, because we've seen in Scotland, when the voting age was lowered for the referendum, that young people showed they were responsible enough and mature enough to use that vote and to have a say over their future. And I don't think there's any argument for not giving them that say.
Yeah, I mean, that's your argument there, and I've heard that argument from the Lib Dems as well. But other people will say, well, you would say that because these people are more likely to vote for different parties.
They've got a huge stake in the decisions that we've made in the coming years, and I hope 16 and 17-year-olds will be more likely to vote for the Green Party, because we are one of the only parties showing a real serious, a real urgency to tackle these issues that are going to affect young people around the lack of opportunities for them, around the existential threat of climate change, and the threats that Brexit poses to their future as well. So, I fully do think lots of young people should support our policies for young people.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, I'm sort of torn, because I look at my 16-year-old self, and one of the candidates took me down for this, but all I cared about was cricket and girls at 16. I don't think I knew enough, and yet I was quite worldly wise, but I didn't quite know enough about the actual ins and outs of it all to be able to use my vote wisely.
There's plenty of people who are older as well who are in exactly the same situation, who aren't interested in politics for whatever reason. That's absolutely fine. But there's many, many young 16 and 17-year-olds who do have a good understanding of the issues, and especially of how the issues are going to affect their future over the next decades. So, yeah, there are people right across the spectrum who aren't interested in politics, but plenty of people who are mature enough at 16 and 17 to vote. And if they aren't interested and they don't vote, that's fine. But actually, this has been shown to be a really good way of engaging young people and training them from a young age in participating in democracy and taking responsibility for looking at the issues and understanding them properly.
A lot of people get in touch this morning as well saying, and you're standing in Cambridge, so this is why I'm asking you this. A lot of people getting in touch this morning saying, actually, young people should be made to vote where their home is, where their mums and dads' house is, where their registered address is, not where they study. Because, that would change who they voted for in Cambridge, wouldn't it? Would it give you more of a chance or less of a chance? I'm not sure.
We've got a lot of support among students and young people. Our policy of abolishing tuition fees, for example, and ending student debt, I'm sure will be hugely popular among students in Cambridge. But students who live in Cambridge will be here for a number of years. Many of them will stay in the local area afterwards as well. So they've got every right to have a say and elect a member of Parliament.
Is that fair? Is that fair on the community, though, who are indigenous?
Well, Cambridge has a very high turnover of population in lots of areas anyway, because of the nature of the business and the economy here in Cambridge. So I think students and young people who are living here, who are affected by all the decisions that are made locally and by what their Member of Parliament will champion, are perfectly, I think it's absolutely right that they've got a say over what happens in Cambridge.
When's the Green Party going to really cut through? I look at your policies and you think, who could vote against the Clean Air Act? Banning fracking, deposit scheme for bottles, clean up the country. I'm looking at all these things thinking, they're pretty good, a second referendum, a lot of people would like that. But why don't you cut through? Because you've only got one MP.
The electoral system makes it very difficult for us. At the last election, we got over 1 million votes across the country. And when I go out and speak to people in Cambridge, when I speak to people on the doors, I hear a huge amount of support for our policies and for our ideas. But the electoral system puts huge barriers in the face of us making progress.
Must be frustrating, because that's not going to change anytime soon, is it?
It's very frustrating. On the other hand, I was at a debate in Sudbury yesterday, as I said, and I had the UKIP candidate talking about ending factory farming. The Labour candidate was a vegetarian who talked about the impact of of rearing animals on the world as well. And I thought, you know, this is fantastic. The Green Party are winning the debate in many, many areas. If you look at the recent Labour Party manifesto, abolishing tuition fees, ending fracking, free school meals for pupils at primary school, these are all Green Party policies that we've been championing for a long time.
So it's a bit like UKIP then, they're pinching all your policies, and eventually it'll come to a point where people won't vote for you anymore.
Well, I'm happy to influence the debate and happy to work with other parties when they adopt our policies and support things that we've been championing for a long time. On the other hand, Labour are nationally committed to Brexit. The Liberal Democrats had a very poor record when they were in government of destroying public services along with the Conservatives at the same time. So if you're in Cambridge, you're pro-European and you're pro-public services, then the Green Party are the only option for you.
Can you win?
I think I'm as good a candidate as the other candidates here. I'm fully behind, you know, I really want to do very well in this election. But of course I recognise how difficult it is for us electorally. We don't have money from the trade unions, we don't have money from big business or millionaires either, so we can't match the resources of the other parties. But we have a huge amount of support, and I would just say to everyone in Cambridge, vote for what you believe in. Help us get there, help us influence the country, because, yeah, we can win, but we need people to be brave and to come out and support us.
Stuart, lovely to talk to you. Thank you for coming on this morning, and all the best. Stuart Tuckwood, who's standing for the Green Party in the Cambridge City constituency in the election on June the 8th.